My name is Liz, and I have been creating artwork under the pseudonym LilacRenegade already for a while. One thing I'm working on is marketing myself better and sharing my work, and posting to YouTube is one way that I can do that. With this particular piece, I do want to talk about self-critique, or how I evaluate my own artwork, because this particular piece deserves a lot of evaluation. We're also going to talk a little bit about the process that I used versus the one that I normally do. One thing that I like to keep in mind is that as artists, we're often a lot harsher on ourselves than other people are. Now, for some people this can be a bad thing, but for me I don't think it's a bad thing unless I let it hold me back from getting better. But mostly it just drives me to do better next time. Overall, I am glad that I made this piece, but I acknowledge that there are definitely some areas that could be improved upon. Before the footage you see here, I did do some sketching with a pale blue watercolor pencil. When it was filmed, it was not easily seen, but I do like to use this process because when you go to watercolor paint over it, your sketch lines will generally either fade or melt away completely, giving you a nice unlined look without that harsh graphite underneath. I did also add masking fluid, and I did not include that footage either because it's also not terribly clear, and I never think that masking fluid is all that fun to watch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this painting does start out really well. It starts with light layers that can be built up, which is the way watercolors should start out. I chose a warm blue for the water, so more like a phthalo blue, a cooler blue for the sky, which was more of a ultramarine, and a pale pink for the lotus, which I think that I started with opera pink for this. Now, mistakes were made very early though. I don't know why I added yellow to the whole body of the koi fish. I do feel like I've made this mistake before, and I hate it every time. I did, however, like the blooms of orange where I just drop the pigment in and it blossoms out from the drop that you put in. And the layers to the gem are very confusing to me. I'm not sure what I was thinking, because I chose warm greens, yellows, and purple, and these are located pretty much opposite each other on a color wheel, which explains why the gem doesn't have the feeling that I want. One thing that might have helped with this is if I used a reference. Next I move on to adding larger details, including more color on the lotus and patches on the koi. For some reason I only add orange patches, even though koi fish also have black patches. I don't know. And then I also do something here that I really like. I start to add this water texture. I really got into this, and I do think that it adds a lot to this painting to tie it together and to add some depth, because I put it under the koi fish. I then keep adding to the lotus to the point where it doesn't feel like anything natural at all. And then I also add texture to the lily pads, which I really like. At some point though, really soon, I really get carried away and this painting entirely goes off the rails. I add these circles up in the sky that I would call bubbles. I don't know what else to call them. They were definitely not in the original plan. I don't feel like they add to the piece, so they're taking away from the piece. And then I also kind of think, oh, well, water texture went so well the first time to add depth, why don't I add more? Then I move on to the line work. I have been told that I do too much line work, and that's their opinion, but I really love line work. And I was able to add some black spots to the koi and white stars and highlights. But I do feel like even though I know when enough is enough, I don't call it, and I get to the point in this painting where I feel like I can fix too much with more. So as you can tell, I'm generally not very happy with this piece. There are definitely too many elements that need to be edited or planned out more, which would have been addressed by doing thumbnails beforehand. And in general, there's just too many colors, too many textures, which a color story might have helped with that as well. Which those are both things that either I already have a color story in mind, or I do a bunch of thumbnails ahead of time that help fix that. However, I hadn't been painting at all right before this because I had just really been struggling to be creative. So I was really glad that I sat down and did something, and I really got to push and explore and know when too much was too much. I really got to play with that water texture a lot, which was really awesome, and I really liked the blooms that were on the koi originally, and I'd like to try that again in a more planned approach. I would also take the opportunity to push certain elements in this piece further. So as I mentioned before, when it came to the crystal or the gem, looking at more references would have been really helpful. Also, I feel like pushing the blue of the water darker, and also maybe considering a gradient from dark at the bottom to light at the top. I do feel that it's important to post good with the bad. I am kind of bummed that this is the first post in a really long time for me, but hopefully that just means that things can only really get better from here. So I feel like that just about covers everything. Look down in the description for the materials that I used. Mostly I used Daniel Smith and Core watercolors, but there are also some Shin Han and a few others. I really kind of enjoy just making my own palette. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that hopefully when I get one of these up again soon, you'll know that I'm back again. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.